Well, James says if Manning and Napa aren't sacked by their next game against Bristol City, then no one is going to be turning up. Another one says that everything at Norwich is rotten to the core at the moment. Welcome back to Where Canaries Walk. We are doing a live stream for the first time. We're obviously talking, fortunately, fellas, about that pathetic derby result. And, of course, we want to chat to you about all those ridiculous Nunez celebrations at the end as well. We're also talking about the stadium changes that have been announced. What do we think to all of that? Refereeing standards generally, and a little bit more light-hearted, we're talking about the A to Z of Norwich City. Last week we did A, this week we did B, and of course AI has been here again, has recommended this fella be put forward for B. Well, hopefully you've got some other suggestions as well. Hope you're doing well. We've got Matty, Killian and Tom fresh back from Portman Road to chew over what was a disappointing derby. I mean, Matty, up to that Philogene goal, I thought it was a very, very even game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think we were maybe as terrible as some fans are making out. I know they created, I think, double the number of chances, and us certainly had a lot more shots on target than we did. But in terms of actual clear-cut chances, I don't think there's a great deal to separate the two teams. But individual mistakes, lack of cutting edge, just frustrating really. Kind of that game, I think, maybe summed up the season so far. Really, is that we weren't good enough in the particular areas that win and lose you a game. So, a bit apathetic towards it all because we'd kind of prepared ourselves for the worst. It had to happen at some point. And when the final whistle kind of went, when the third goal went in, to be honest, sort of thought, well, that's that then, isn't it? And it obviously it hurts, but it didn't hurt quite as much as I was maybe expecting. I don't know if that's just because of how poorly we've been playing lately and that we were all void of hope before going into it or what. But it doesn't make it any less frustrating, I don't think.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because, Tom, some of the Norwich fans I was listening to on some of the phone-ins were saying, look, we're not even that bothered. We're just quite apathetic towards this, which is a bit, we're not angry. We just knew this was going to happen. So, we can't even be hurt by it. So that's a dangerous state to be in when you've got apathy towards a club, isn't it?
I think there's a degree of protect ourselves in there. I think we all knew it was going to happen this season. I think we rode our luck last time we went there and picked up a draw. And I think we really rode our luck there. I made peace with it before the game. I had a 5.5 hour drive on Friday night up to Norfolk, and the whole time I was thinking, well, we're going to get beat 3-0. So, make peace with it now. Take the emotion out of it, so when it happens, it's not as raw. But I don't know. I think there's bigger things at play than losing to them down the road. I mean, considering they've been waiting 16 years, it was like they'd opened a bottle of flat Coke. Honestly, it was almost like they were. Now what? We've waited for this, and what do we do? How do we celebrate? It was very strange.
Yeah. I've got to mention some of the celebrations because they've been completely derided online. I don't know if you've seen these, Killian. First of all, Nunez grabbing the flagpole like he's won the World Cup. I mean, he only came on for whatever it was, 20 minutes, and then this bizarre. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm told his English isn't that great, so I'm not sure he understood what he was doing here. But I mean, as a neutral, I look at this and I'm appalled and ashamed for him, really, because Norwich fans didn't treat him badly. He was well looked after at the club. He didn't leave on bad terms. Obviously, going to the enemy doesn't help. But is his behaviour reprehensible?
Yeah, let's be fair. Both ourselves and Ipswich have bought him for his feet, not for what's between his ears. And his English has been appalling. And I understood he failed his English exams a few times to stay in the country. So, he's clearly a very talented footballer, but it's not very smart. And if you compare his compatriot, I suppose, at the same time we joined Norwich, Gabriel Sara, is a total league above him in terms of class. And I don't think it's a good thing to do. But I put it down to ignorance rather than anything else.
Yeah, and if you, Chris, sorry,
Mark, I think it does raise though the question. Is there some issue with the way we release players? Because if you look at some of the players who liked that comment, it was a lot of the players that we have let go, like Ballymumba, Jonathan Tompkinson. There's quite a Plachetta. There's a few of them there that have just liked that imagery and commentary. So I just wonder, is there something that we don't know as fans that's going on with the way the players are released from the club?
Yeah, it lacked class though, Matty, doesn't it? I mean, regardless of what you know, I don't know what his beef with the club is. I mean, yeah, it's not like he was badly treated while he was here.
No, it does lack class, but at the same time, I think if we just take a step back a second and put ourselves in, I can't put myself in an Ipswich fan's shoes, but you know what I mean. If it was the other way around, we'd be absolutely loving it as well. And I think there's a lack of, class in many derbies and many rivalries almost does go out the window, rightly or wrongly. Yeah, it was a piss take, but it was deliberately a piss take, wasn't it? So there's not anything really we can have a complaint about in terms of how a former player celebrates against us when he comes on, sets up their third goal, and you know, I think the bigger frustration here should be the fact that not that he came on and did what he did, because he was always going to do that, and they've hyped it up, and he was on the cover of the programme. Can't knock them for that. They were always going to do that. And yeah, while I'm disappointed and frustrated that he's gone to them, at the same time, it shouldn't have been a decision that he was able to make. We should never have sold him to them. And at the time, we were all like, yeah, it's a good bit of business and it is good money. It was good money. But actually, if you're an Ipswich fan, I think right now you probably would have happily paid 20 million just for the optics of it all, because ultimately they've won a bit of a PR war. They've won, obviously, this game now. And in terms of kind of the sentiment and the fact that Norwich fans are reacting how they are, they've won at large. So the best thing that we'd be better off doing is to not sing about him anymore, I think, and to just kind of, unfortunately, because we can't change the decision. I think the decision is ridiculous to have sold him, but it's gone and it's done now. And I think, you know, I think what's most disappointing, just final thing on this, just because I'm aware I've gone on, but not a single player laid a glove on him yesterday. Not a single player left anything on him. And there was all of this talk beforehand about Topic, who I like the look of, and he looks half decent, but for the size of the fella, I don't even know if he's still on the pitch, to be honest, at the same time. But any of the players, McLean, albeit was already on a yellow card, but he just danced through them. He tiptoed past them, and no one. I'm not saying get yourself sent off, but just something, anything to show a bit of passion and get the fans on side, even when you're 2-1 down. So a big tackle to crunch a player like that, you know, the fans would have loved it, and it might have helped. And the use of the term apathetic earlier, kind of, you know, rightly so. People are frustrated at the fact that the players didn't look like they cared a great deal yesterday, and that's summed up by the fact that he came off the pitch as clean as he came on the pitch and barely broke sweat and didn't get clattered.
Okay. If you're watching this live, welcome to Where Canaries Walk. We're of course reviewing the derby game. We're also going to get into the changes around Carrow Road, which have been published by the club as well, and this idea that everything just feels a bit rubbish about Norwich at the moment. And let us know your comments. We'll post something on the screen for the panel to chew over. And if you want to ask any of the panel a question, please do so. Write it in and we'll put it up there. Tom, let's talk about some of our players then, shall we, for a minute? Now, I feel sorry for Cernach. I don't know if you do, but he seems to be, whenever we have a bad result, the one player which fans get on the back of the most. Woodsy on social media said, toothless because you're sending blokes out that have no bite to try and win a derby. Why is Cernach still starting games of football, Liam? Yeah. Do you feel sorry for him, Tom?
I think when I saw the starting lineup yesterday, I saw that we were starting with Schwartau and Cernach, and I must admit, I looked at my phone and I just sort of shook my head and didn't think that was the starting 11 to give us that bite that the chat mentions. Cernach is a very young player. He is a confidence player, and he said it in his interviews. And I think it's when you actually hear him speak, you realise how young he is. So, you know, the fact that he has been scapegoated by fans because he's not, you know, a 15-goal a season striker. You know, those same fans would have scapegoated Sargent when he was on the wing, when Pookie was up top. So, you know, I think yes, I see their point in terms of is he a match winner? I don't know, but I think whilst he's wearing a yellow shirt, we talk about Nunez. Whilst he's wearing a yellow shirt and he's starting a game of football, you got to get behind him.
Killian, is the abuse? I mean, he has got a lot of abuse, and if you've seen much of it online, but he's got a lot of anger being directed towards him. Is he as bad as fans make out?
Personally, I don't think so. I mean, I think one of the things that we can't lose sight of, and it's easy to get caught up in the emotion of the result yesterday, but I actually thought, and if you think back to the Stoke match, I thought we were very unlucky, and I thought we were actually decent enough in that first half. Ipswich are clearly a better side. They've spent 120 million last year and invested more again this year. They've got some really top players in there, and I think we stood pretty much with them until they got the second goal. And Cernash, to me, ran his socks off. Like, he chased everything. Now, he did miss an unfortunate chance towards the end, which, could have made him, now, still wouldn't have won the game or got a draw. But I think it's not really helpful to just keep having a go at the players. They're trying. Like Schwartau scored yesterday. Like, I think his first goal for Norwich. These young lads need a bit of encouragement, as do the coaching team. And it's great to sit behind a keyboard and slag people off. But it's not really going to help us get success.
No, and I think when we look at the West Brom game from last week, and obviously we forget that we had a midweek game last week, and I put some stuff on Twitter about the fact that X, whatever you want to call it, the fact that the fans were singing songs at the players, you're effing this, you're effing that, booing them off, singing about them being useless. It's just not going to. We at the time we were 8 games in. We're now 9 games in, and most of these lads are 23, 24-year-olds. Do you know what I mean? Or younger. Do you know what I mean? So they are confidence players. They are going to feel what the fans are giving to them, and we're making a problem for our own back with this home form in the fact that if they keep getting on the backs of these young players, they're going to be petrified to play at home. No wonder we're better away. No wonder we're braver away, because that the away fans aren't giving the players half as much as what their own fans are giving them. It's and I said it last week, and it is borderline pathetic, because everybody expects an instant success, an instant result, an instant Norwich fighting for the top 2 again, but it's not going to happen. And people need to realise that yes, there's other failings in terms of what's going on at the club and the wider picture, and you could probably talk about that till you're blue in the face, but I think as fans we've got a responsibility to back whatever gets put on the pitch in front of us and get behind them, and don't just chuck your toys out the pram and start booing and slagging everyone off when it goes wrong, because they feel it, and there's no surprise that again we're in the points lost from winning positions chart again so far this season. Do you know what I mean? So, because everybody feels the nervousness and the tension, and is that the players? Is that the management? Is that just the fans being nervous because we're Norwich fans and we know what's coming? But I don't know. I think to slag the players off 4 days before a derby, as they did on Wednesday night, I thought was unacceptable. Was my personal opinion.
I think that timing, Tom, that you mentioned though is actually really, really sad. Like we talked about this a lot during the week. Is that Killian? You mentioned like we weren't terrible against West Brom. There was parts of the Stoke game where we were okay, but we only get 1 point from them, and all of a sudden fans have been so negative pre the derby game, and that's the last thing you need going into that game. Like, form typically goes out the window, so any negativity that was surrounding the players, surrounding the coaching staff, it just wasn't needed. And I'm absolutely not blaming that for the result, but it doesn't help, does it? And then when you've got your own fans 70, 80 minutes in wanting him out during the game when we're 2-1 down to Ipswich, you just think, what's going on? Like, we have unfortunately become a very entitled fan base who, to your point, Tom, for some stupid reason expect instant success, and it doesn't happen.
Okay. If you're watching this and you are a Manning in, well, I'd love you to put a comment in. If you're a Manning out, let the comment in, and you can talk to the panel here. What percentage, Killian, of fans do you believe now still back the management group that we currently have?
I think probably less than they should. Like what Matty just said there. I mean, our fans are very fickle. I've seen lists. I mean, they've been shooting around the airways the last 24 hours of who the next manager is going to be. Like, I'm not excited by any of them. I don't see what any of them would do any different. I think one thing fans should not forget is there's a human side to the game. Like Liam Manning it's around the anniversary of his son's death. I'm sure he didn't particularly want to be in Ipswich. I know he had to be for work. But giving him abuse like that, I just don't think is helpful. And I feel sorry for him. He's certainly trying. Maybe he's not the most inspiring man in the world, but I think he needs to be given a chance. And if we're going to sack managers every 9-10 games, like we're going to end up like Watford going nowhere around the sinkhole.
Yeah,
and you've also got to look at, they're the same fans that sung "We've Got Super Liam Manning" 5 games ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like you say, and I'm not sitting here just digging out Norwich fans because it's not going to end well for me. But we have got to remember that it is a 46-game season. We're not going to win every week. I appreciate people want to be entertained, and it's about what they see on the pitch, and for what they can get behind. But you can't go from "We've got Super Liam Manning" to Manning should be sacked immediately, and it's a disgrace and all the rest of it. How can we go from those to those polar opposites, to those contrasts in the space of
it's like a month,
4 or 5 games? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
Joe has asked the question. I think Joe, you probably got your answer to this already now from the 3 people here. Do you think Liam Manning should be sacked now? I mean, none of you. I mean, how many more games do you give him, Matty?
I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Right? I guess it depends on form. Say we lose all 5 of our next 5 games, he's in real trouble, right? That is justifiable, because obviously that win percentage would be terrible given the money we spent. If we're kind of, fits and starts and kind of we can see that there's maybe a little bit of potential, I genuinely think he's got until around mid-December. I don't see anything, barring consecutive defeats, and a shocking run, to suggest that we would do anything otherwise. And to be honest, and I know this is the case in Germany a lot more than it is over here, but if he goes, then the sporting director should also go, because he should be held to account a lot more so than he maybe is being, or maybe would be, because that would be 2. I disagree with the Torup sacking, as we know, but that would be 2 failed appointments. And if that was the case, Napa's going to have to take a long, hard look in the mirror and go, actually, I've ballsed this up twice now. So I think for that reason alone, Napa would be hesitant to sack him anytime until the next 2 months, maybe even 3.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've got this tweet here from Justin. Sorry, Tom, I'll come back to you in a minute. He said Manning and Napa have to go. Napa shouldn't lead the replacement or touch January. He needs phasing out and replacing, or he should resign. So it isn't just Manning that the fans are getting on the back of. They definitely want Napa out as well. Tom?
Yeah, I think, well, you just mentioned about how many games. We've got 6 games after the international break before the next one in November. And I think that will take us to, a third of the season, which I think is probably the right time to make a proper judgment, because I think if we're not anywhere near where we want to be by a third of the season, I think we're really going to struggle to turn it around if their target is the top 6. I think the issue is, Mark, I think this all traipses back to Torup and the fact that they pulled the trigger arguably too soon on him. Matty, you mentioned 2 failed appointments. I think you could chuck Jack Wiltshire in there, because I'm not really sure what he bought.
Yeah.
Apart from being the player's mate for 9 months and maybe the instigator of downing tools,
feeding stuff back to Napa.
This is it. Ultimately, if he's bought his mate in from Arsenal, and I appreciate this is an opinion, but if he's bought his mate in from Arsenal, who knows what's going back up into the boardroom? Do you know what I mean? It's completely undermining the football management structure. And obviously they sacked Torup, and then there's Norwich fans sat there now who were the same fans that were singing "We want Torup out" in the middle of games, going, "Oh, maybe maybe we shouldn't have sacked him. And again, it goes back to that fickle nature and that contrast of, we're going up under Torup and Torup out and Wiltshire's the man and Wiltshire's not the man. And I don't know, we just got to hold our nerve a little bit more, I think.
It's the same fans, though, Tom, that wanted Farker out that then turned around and went, oh, maybe we shouldn't have sacked Farker. We're not going back to the whole Farker thing, but,
yeah, how long have we got?
No. I don't want to make that argument, but what I'm saying is football fans are fickle. And Norwich fans are particularly fickle, it would seem at times. I don't want to go down that route, like Tom says, of slagging our fans off, because we are also a fantastic fan base, but we can be hellishly fickle at times.
Luton have just sacked their manager today, and Hoff Torup is on their list, interesting enough. So we'll see what develops. There. Right, let's talk about Bristol City then, shall we, Killian? And I'll tell you what, here's a set of fans that can't wait to come to Carrow Road and dish out a load of abuse to Liam Manning. I feel for the bloke in this next fixture because he's getting it from all four sides of the ground. Obviously, they are very happy that they saw, in their views, Killian, that it wasn't. They didn't see Norwich as an upwards move when he switched in the summer. Here's the team you started against Ipswich. What would you start against Bristol City?
I mean, I wouldn't make a huge amount of change to it. I maybe would put McCam in instead of Topic. Otherwise, and maybe Mahovo at left back. He looks. I mean, it should be fully fit by then. But otherwise, I think the team is trying. They're getting slightly better. We obviously have to turn around the home form, and certainly Manning will want not to be beaten by Bristol of all teams. So I hope the players turn up for him, if not for the fans.
And not to mention the fact that I live in Bristol. So if Bristol City come to us and do us again at Carrow Road, then back-to-back Ipswich and Bristol City, my life is going to be a lot of fun. It's interesting, right? Because if Bristol City do beat us and Manning does get the chop afterwards, I think he'll be the only Norwich manager to have never won at Carrow Road as a Norwich manager, but his only win at Carrow Road would have been as a Bristol City manager, which
amazing.
Would be absolutely insane. For what it's worth, though, they've not, they've started to wobble. I had a chat with a few people a couple of days ago. They've said they've not got the strength and depth, and they've started to fall off. And I don't know. I mean, they were giving it, Struber's cider army and all the rest of it, in obviously goading the fact that Manning walked out on them. So I mean, do you know what? For Liam Manning and everything else that's gone on at the minute, I would quite enjoy if he stuffed them on Saturday week. But this is Norwich.
Yeah, just don't give Scott Twine any free kicks on the edge of the area. That's rule number one of playing Bristol City. Right, let's talk about some more cheery news then coming out of Norwich this week. Then there's redevelopment plans of the stadium have left fans up in anger, Matty, because they're moving season tickets around. The away fans are being moved. There's more corporate being planned. I mean, this was just one of many angry tweets we found from Craig. He said, "Great, I found out that my season ticket of 25 years is disappearing, buried in a video on X. No answers to what happens to my daughter's ticket. Does it double in price when we're forced to move to other areas?" And that's not even touching the shambolic football side that needs a total overhaul. There's other ones very similar to that. MJ says, with a laughing stock of those down the road, it's not the coach or the players, but the ones running this club. Digital tickets, moving faithful fans, chopping down trees, removing the canary roses. It's too much all too soon. Do you agree, Matty?
Even change the supplier of the pies over the course of the pre-season. Listen, right. I knew that tickle you, Tom. I get it, right? It's frustrating. If you've sat in the same place for 5, 10, 15 years, then I guess it's. I mean, I don't know if heartbreaking's too far to go, but in terms of kind of the people that you go with and the setup and the things that you know and love and enjoy about your match there, then that's a massive thing, isn't it? The flip side is that I get that we're trying to improve the atmosphere, and that it does need to happen because it can be terrible at home, the atmosphere. So I do get it, but I just don't think, like a lot of things that Norwich have done in the last 5 years or so, it's not been handled well. and I just think we could have communicated things so much better. Were people asked? Was anyone consulted? Were fans consulted? Maybe they were. I don't know. I'm purely asking questions, but the way that it's being handled isn't great. So yeah, bloody hell, it's happy hour tonight, isn't it?
I believe
Absolutely,
they
yeah.
didn't consult anybody.
Didn't.
Apparently not. No, I mean,
Right,
you
well,
say about you say about improving the atmosphere. I think to be really cynical, and the bottom line on this moving away fans is to improve financials, because ultimately they've got the opportunity to sell 3 blocks that are currently used by away fans. There's obviously the boxes behind the away end that don't get used, which can be monetized. So they've seen an opportunity to
Maybe
release a premium price season ticket or corporate, and is this the Americanized ownership starting to seep in? We'll then get those going, oh well Delia never would have done this, would she? But
they're the same ones that want to deal you out.
Yeah.
Can I just make one comment?
Good. Yeah.
I served 3 years on the supporters panel, and it's a few years ago now. And at that point, the supporters panel were informed that, and it was confidential information, that the away fans will be moved. So that's nothing new. And to be honest with you, I've seen so many fans saying we weren't consulted. They would never do anything if fans were consulted. It's not a democracy. These people who've been 25 years in the seats, I get it. But you'd never make any progress if we had to get everybody to agree to everything. So unfortunately, there's times the club has to make a decision and take the flak for it. I think the timing was a bit off coming up to
that's the thing.
I don't understand the logic of that piece. And maybe they've shot themselves a bit in the foot. But if you're going to make these changes, there was never going to be happy fans. And people will look back, I think, in 10 years' time, when maybe they've developed the city stand and moved those people around as well, and say, actually, we've got a lovely stadium. But I've seen it with so many decisions the club has had to make. The fans have moaned the digital tickets. Like, come on, lads. I know it's been a bit of a challenge, but that's modern technology. Are we that backward in Norwich? Seriously?
I think the digital tickets is a good thing, actually. I think the digital ticket thing's a good thing. Actually, Killian, to your point about the city stand, and Tom, to your point about money, if they wanted to get more money, we should have. I know it's short term pain for long term gain, but get rid of the city stand. I know it's got this kind of very traditional feel about it, and it's what people associate when they see Norwich City on TV when the players come out and all that kind of stuff. But it's a tiny stand. It's a bit tin pot. Like, rebuild that and put another 10,000 seats in. That'll bring you in more revenue, because there's a wait for season tickets. Don't balls up people's hard-earned money that they've paid for season tickets to then move them is my take on that. If it does purely come down to financials.
But like, if you're going to redevelop the city stand, which I'm in, you're going to have to move those fans. So like, there's no matter what way you do it, you're going to have to move fans.
Not necessarily though. I mean, I'm not comparing us to Liverpool in any stretch, but didn't Liverpool keep the bottom half of their stand open whilst they redeveloped or built the top tier? I think it can be done with the right vision, with the right financials, with the right capabilities. I just think, no one wants to see the city stand empty for a season. I don't know. Go on.
Yeah, I did hear someone say yesterday that the city stand was originally put up in a bit of a rush because the old one burnt down. So I wonder whether, I'm sure all these things are being considered, and none of us are building surveyors, right? So I wonder whether it's not got the right foundations, etc., to be built upon. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it looks like they've just gone, we need to get this news out. The best time to do it is Friday because we're going to get beat on Sunday, which again was a defeatist mentality. Let's get this news out now, and then it'll be swept under the rug either way on Monday morning. There's a lot of questions still to be answered about prices, season tickets, and all the rest of it. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to create more problems than benefits having the away fans behind the goal.
But I know the club are meeting with fans on Wednesday to answer any questions they have. So.
Okay, we'll have an update for you then after the international break. Charlie's been in touch. Thank you, Charlie Cook. If you're watching, he says, yeah, very simply, Napa should be sacked. Yeah, I don't think you're on your own with that view, Charlie. Thank you very much. And please, if you've got any other thoughts or comments on that stadium discussion, put them in the comments here. We'll put some on the screen. If you've got any questions for Matty, Killian, and Tom as well, put them in there. And of course, we need. Charlie's come back here. They always said we didn't need to sell. We were told top 6 with the aim. Yeah, very true. You agree with that, Tom?
Yeah, I think irrespective of who the player is, and irrespective of whether you don't sell to them. He could have gone to Turkey. He could have gone to the fucking moon for all I care. You don't go to them. Do you know what I mean? It's sorry, excuse my French, but you don't do business with them. Because you are basically priming the opportunity to do exactly what he did yesterday. Do you know what I mean? All of these celebrations and all the rest of it, like what Matty said, if it was on the other foot, we'd be reveling in it. But I think the point on Napa is an interesting one, right? Because I think you look at Napa, you look at Zoe Webber, and you look at Neil Adams as a football leadership structure at the club. I don't see what Zoe Webber and Neil Adams do. Killian, you might have more insight, but when Ipswich are doing what they're doing, and Zoe Webber's got the opportunity to vote as to whether the Blackburn result should have stood, and she's abstained because she's involved with a championship club, you can absolutely guarantee if the shoe was on the other foot, they would have stuck the boot in.
Yeah.
And then what does she do at Norwich? I mean, I think we go back to the days of Ricky Martin. What did Ricky Martin do at Norwich as a technical director, and just wrote a paycheck every month? And that might be being unfair, but I genuinely cannot see what Zoe Webber, Neil Adams, and Napa bring as a football leadership group. And I think Atanasio's got to review that at some point. Is it right to do that mid-season? I don't know. Probably not. If he's going to get rid of the manager and the football operations at the same time, then us three will be in the bloody chair. But I think
do a better job.
I think you've got to look at those three and go, okay, at the moment, under that directorship, under that football leadership structure, I don't think it's working. And I think if you're going to look at Napa, you've got to look at the other two with him.
Go on, Tom. Do your best. What's going on, Neil?
What's going on, Neil?
All right. Okay. Thanks for that. Yes. Thanks for the F-bomb as well. It's the first F-bomb we've had on a live YouTube feed. Thank you, Mr. Chambers. My goodness, you're getting us shut down in the morning. Right.
Cancel.
Good job.
Right. If you've been a regular viewer, you'll notice that last week we started a bit of fun, because it's not all rosy at Norwich, is it? We've started, we've started the A to Z of Norwich City. Basically, here's how it works. We're looking for each letter of the alphabet. We're looking for a player or person or anything from history that definitely fits for the letter. Now, we've done with surnames only. Oh, why have you swapped places? There you are. Surnames only. And of course, we asked AI who should get in for the letter B for Norwich. And it had, Buendia. I wonder if you can do any better than that. So, Killian, do you want to kick us off this week?
Yeah,
who gets in the Norwich A to Z for letter B? I'm
going to go with the Barkley. It's not because I'm on the Barkley podcast. But it's I mean, they do. I mean, obviously, up till now, they've been the ones who got the away fans wound up. And if there is any atmosphere in Carrow Road, I know the Snake Pit, believe it's them, but I think the Barkley do bring a bit of atmosphere to Carrow Road. The Barkley stand.
We're live here. People can actually comment and tell you that you're wrong. Okay. Right. If you're in the Snake Pit, let us know. Matty, B.
I'll be honest, Mark. I'm a little bit disappointed that AI has gone with the one that I was going to go for, because and Tom can testify for this, because we were chatting about this before coming on, and I'd said Wendy, and he was like, "No, you can have Wendy." I'd gone him. He was football heaven. He was superb. He was probably the most technical player I've seen in the flesh play for Norwich City, and shame it. I know he's back scoring goals for Villa now, but he had that terrible injury when he went. But brilliant player, stuck around, wanted to get us back promoted. Didn't kind of, like many have, jump ship when he could have done. And just done all around superb footballer. So it's Wendy for me.
Okay, Tom.
Do you know what? I was going to go completely left field because for some reason the Barkley or Buendia didn't enter my headspace. It was David Bentley on a loan deal from 20 years ago. So yeah, some people will remember his 26 appearances and 2 goals for Norwich, and other people really won't. But I think he's doing the rounds at the moment on a lot of other football podcasts talking about his time at Norwich. And I think there was one time he got dropped off Nigel Worthington for recreating the Peter Kay, John Smith's Have It advert, and basically got sent home from the training ground and suspended under Nigel Worthington. So yeah, he doesn't rival Buendia in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, David Bentley was the one that came to mind.
Yeah, I think all Blackburn fans put him in there. Theirs as well. Brilliant. Right, let us know then. Yeah, in the comments, of course. And if you're watching this live, you can think of any other surname players begin with B that definitely belong in the Norwich Hall of Fame A to Z. Thank you very much. Charlie's been back with a question before we finish. I'll let you answer it, or you can discuss it between ourselves. There we are. Charlie says, "What is our style? Is our long-term plan sell Sargent? That it's another rebuild because he isn't staying around." Which of you wants to tackle that? Charlie, you're on fire tonight, my friend.
You know, the issue is, right? We actually, I'm gonna be a little bit, I'm a bit fired up by this one because we actually did have a style of play under Hoftorra. I actually don't know what our style of play is under Manning. We've seen a little bit of it in terms of being more dogged and more sort of pragmatic. The win at Blackburn and the win at Portsmouth are good examples. And there were little glimpses against West Brom when I was like, I can kind of see what we're trying to do. But overall, I actually don't know what our identity is. I haven't heard him speak at length about a philosophy, and I know that's maybe overplayed and overused at times. But I actually, if I was in an elevator going up 4 or 5 floors with someone and someone asked me in 10 seconds to sum up what we're about, I couldn't tell them. Anyone else?
I think if you ask Bristol City fans, they'll tell you about the horseshoe. Apparently, he has got his famous style is the horseshoe, which I'm not sure how that translates into football terms.
Is it that way or that way?
I don't know. You could say he got kicked off the horseshoe yesterday at Portman Road, but but I don't know. I mean, I think we've clearly stopped playing out from the back as much as we did under Torup, I think, which I think, given some of the goals we conceded last season, I think is probably a plus. But we're also fairly toothless going forward, it would seem at times. So, yeah, I mean, Sargent looks completely isolated. So, to Charlie's point, do we sell Sargent for a massive rebuild? I mean, God knows. If in our current state, if we sold Sargent in January, we are doing a tour of League One next season. Fundamentally, we are, because we do not have enough firepower in that. What's that, Killian?
We might be anyway, because he hasn't been performing. And those next 6 games, as you've mentioned, they are critical, because I think apart from anything else, we're in 19th. Really, if Blackburn were to beat Ipswich in their match in hand, that we'd be in 20th. And every other team who comes there will be looking at us as a bottom of the table type team, and they will feel more confident. So Sarge and others really have to lift it.
I do wonder if that is going to have an effect of him not going on USA duty this time round, because I'll feel sorry for him. It's a lot of travelling, so actually to keep him in the training ground and sort of just managing his training load and how many other footballisms you can put on it, hopefully will mean that he's ready to go for these next 6 games. But I mean, with Topic behind him in a 10,
we've got to create chances, haven't we? For him,
Mirko Topic is not a 10 as long as I've got 2 holes in the side of my head.
This is the thing. Like we sell a player to that lot down the road who can play a forward pass. I don't really know how many other players in that midfield. Maatsen looked fantastic, I thought, yesterday. And he did in other spells that I've seen him. But he's the only one that seems to have the bit between his teeth and drive us forward. So we can talk about Sargent all we want. Selling him would be horrific. But if we're not going to create chances for him, He's got 5 goals this season, I think. One of them was an absolute screamer at Portsmouth, at Blackburn. But like he's been starved for the last 2 games. In fact, we didn't create a great deal at Stoke. 3 games. Bloody hell. So it's not his fault as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. We got to ask a question on maybe Jacob Wright as well. I think he's probably done it. He's done his
7 chances created this season, Jacob Wright.
Do you know what? Maybe he's done his time in the cold. I know they're cheesed off for him for getting a silly red card. I get it, right? But he looks like he's got a little bit of tempo and he can play a forward pass. Yeah. Stick him and Maatsen and Kenny in the middle, or maybe stick him in with Topic and Kenny and see what they can create.
Yeah.
Cheers for this, Nigel. Lots of comments coming through here. No creativity in midfield. Soldiers was quiet. Stacey, Killing was our best player. Yeah. Pella Maatsen did okay. Keeper has a shocker. Richard says too many rough diamonds. All our real diamonds have been sold. And I think Charlie's keeping busy tonight. And why hasn't McConville been in for Cordoba or at least been given more minutes, Killian?
Is that your burner account, Killian? Have you just been...
Student in as Charlie. No, I agree with that. I mean, I do think McConville needs to be given a chance. We've dropped Medic, which has surprised me a little bit, even though I do think Cordoba was a better fit for Ipswich with his speed. But I think McConville needs to be given a chance. What have we got to lose? Like, we've conceded so many goals.
Yeah.
I would also, just as a suggestion, put Fisher behind Stacey. Play both of them on the right-hand side. Because I think Stacey is definitely really good going forward.
Saito Matters bald head. I still don't know how Sunach got the whole 90 minutes of doing it. So nothing was being in a position that was never his in the first place. He's no winger and never was when JHC brought in. If you might have been a bit late to our Sunach discussion, we did that a couple of minutes ago, but I think the panel will agree. Nigel's been back on. Can't believe we spent all that money on Sunach and our other Czech player. We definitely miss Sarah Saints and the Rat Nunez. I just hope we can get a run of wins at home. Don't we all, Nigel? Right. I think we're done, fellas. First of all, before you all head off, please hit the subscribe button. If you haven't yet done so already, this is where Canaries walk. It is 20 minutes, usually 20 minutes, of a Norwich chat, which you'll find coming out on a Monday at 6 p.m. These 3 and others will be guesting on it. We've done our live one this time round because we all needed some therapy this evening, Matty, didn't we? We just needed to get it all out there. All frustrations.
Therapy with a capital F, I think. Sorry, chaps.
Good to talk.
Good to talk. Right. Cheers for everyone who's commented. Thank you so much, Charlie. Charlie says, sorry, guys. I'm angry and frustrated, just upset there's such a divide. It feels absolutely awful. I think we're all with there. Nigel says, great work, lads. Keep the faith. We certainly will do. Thank you all for commenting. Thank you, Richard, as well, for commenting as well. Right. I'll let you 3 go have a week's rest from talking about Norwich City, shall we? And then we'll look forward to the visit of Bristol City in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you all very much for watching. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for keeping smiling as well. It's probably been the toughest. It's been the toughest 5 days for Norwich fans, hasn't it? But we're still keeping the faith. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you shortly.
Cheers, guys.